So the weather is finally getting nice consistently. So since I've started to walk and think and walk and process with regard to my writing, I thought I'd go ahead and do some filming while I'm at it. So I'm headed to a place called Untermyer Gardens. You'll see it's a very popular place on a day like this, especially a day that's nice after months of difficult weather. On a day like this, it's really crowded. But it's nice, to see people sort of relaxing, enjoying the weather, getting out, being with other people. And so this park is basically at the top of a hill, like so many other things in this area. This is a very hilly part of New York. So I'm gonna record parts where I'm going up the hill and parts where I'm going down the hill. I've already gone up the hill. That slope, it wasn't quite as steep, so it was the easiest way to come up the hill. Now I'm about to go down the hill, and you'll see this slope is quite steep.
एक सिंगल फिकर कर रहे हैं सिंगल तो है ना कहते हैं इट्स बात
So this is the steep way to come up, or the steep section. But I'm going down the hill. I just took a shot showing what it looks like at the very top. I'm going to try and capture how steep this is from the bottom.
Yeah.
So looking at the phone, it looks like that captures how steep this is. You can imagine what it's like to start from down here at the bottom. Hey everyone, this is Henry once again. One of the things I wanted to do in this video is to update one of the things that I said in my last video regarding the storyboarding that I'm doing and the status of the Council of Nobles. I made that video before I actually went back and started to update my storyboard. But once I started doing that, and then looking at the scenes that I mentioned that were in varying degrees of completion, I found that a couple of scenes were pretty close to done. And I was pretty happy with how going into this project once again without going through the process of rereading all of those older scenes, I was still able to add a lot of context and content that really the situation is that it wasn't on the page. And so I guess long story short, what I wound up doing is just doing the necessary changes in terms of dates and in terms of referencing some of the new scenes that I've written prior to scenes like scene 30 and scene 36. But then I was able to basically publish scene 36. So the update is that I mentioned that I wasn't going to publish out of date. Anyone who's been following the Council of Nobles knows that it currently goes from scene 13 to scene 30, which is the chapter titled Crusaders. So obviously I've changed my mind about that. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy about that. I'm pretty happy, and I've already gotten some feedback on those updated scenes, which I'm very happy about, very pleased with. Thank you so much for that feedback. It's always very helpful. But I just wanted to make that point. Yeah, a word about a little bit more about the process though. Is one of the other things that I found was really helpful is I did actual, I've introduced the characters in places in their lives that I think are much better places for a reader to meet characters. Formative years, important years. To make the story easier to follow, I also have characters. I mean, it's not like it's forced, because all of these characters are existing on a level in terms of their status in society where it actually makes sense that they existed or spent time in very similar environments. Not necessarily that they all knew each other, but they would all be in the same environment though, the same elite, Ivy League environment. That just makes sense. I mean, the real people in these positions, many of those real people went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and so on. And so it makes sense that these characters will be in the same situation. But what that does is it makes it a lot easier to establish for the reader to follow what's going on, because even though two characters are attending the same university at the same time, it's easier. I have basically the same stage, even though their stories might actually be different. So I found that to be a helpful, very useful way to simplify a part of the story that actually, like I said, things would be that way in reality. It's not exactly a stretch. If anything, like I said, in real life, people in these situations, a lot of them all went to the same schools. And in many cases, they actually knew each other. So that was an easy way to simplify the situation, to simplify the story for readers, to make it easier for them to follow. The other thing is introducing the characters in these key moments in their lives also has the added benefit of making them much more memorable. So you're way more likely to remember these characters, even though there might be 10,000, 15,000 words in between one moment and the other. That turned out to be another benefit doing it that way.
Yeah, okay. from your high school. I don't know. But I think
All right, I got the tripod back because I'm on my way out. Although I'm sure you noticed the other tripods in here. So we're just sort of ignoring that rules. That rule. So as I said, that's Untermyer Park, Untermyer Gardens. Great place to just sort of walk around, collect your thoughts, get inspiration in some cases. Because in terms of people watching, you've got a pretty wide range of people.
Sige. Iba pa rin. Holiday stage. And 1.5 points. There's 12 constant. Ate sa sana, bilisan. Pass.
This, by the way, is Untermyer Gardens. Obviously, it's at the top of a hill. If I weren't making this video, I would be just walking and processing the type of storyboarding that I'm talking about. It's a great place to think. Sometimes it's crowded, sometimes it isn't. There's actually another way up this hill, which on my way back, I'll probably continue filming because I think going down it will illustrate kind of how steep it is much better than going up because you're only able to see what's behind me.
Something about the other way.
I was tempted a second ago to say that this is a hike, but I know that people who hike on a regular basis probably would not consider this to be a hike. um, so it really kind of depends on your perspective. At the very least, it's a nice walk, at the very least. funny, places like this to me are not so much scenic, but striking. Sort of reminds me of the first time I saw the grapevine. I wouldn't describe it as scenic, but it is certainly striking. I suppose I get some feedback from folks as to whether they think this is actually scenic. And maybe even from those who have been here.
없네요. 아, 조심해.
I actually made the mistake after 6. Because that gate in the back is almost always open. The offices are in the front, and those gates were locked. So I climbed all the way up this hill, and I couldn't get out, at least not this way. I'll walk around the front to show. Well, actually, I'm here a lot. I'll just do another video on another day, maybe when it's not as crowded.
Jigs, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, minutes for that. I get it. Any guy take that, huh?